Hello, everyone, and welcome to Episode 7 of the Mount Moon Review Podcast, the post-Pokemon World Championship 2019 podcast. I am your host, the Raz with my co-host, Blue Duck Gold Duck, without the E. Duck, we just got back from Washington, D.C.
Yes, we did. It was quite a trip.
Thankfully, it wasn't that far of a drive, but I'll tell you, we were staying in a pretty sketchy part of town, I gotta say.
It was a weird part of town, but it was the best hotel I've ever stayed in for an event for Pokemon.
Well, considering how many of you were stuffed in that little room, I'm that's got to be saying something. But no, we stayed in Chinatown, and I got to tell you, I've always wanted to go to Chinatown in DC. I will never go there at night again.
It was a little. I was people watching late into the night the one night, and it was pretty nuts.
We try to keep this podcast pretty PG at most, so I can't really go into a lot of the things I saw after dark in Chinatown. But if you stay for the post-show Q&A, I'll talk all about that. So for those of you that are listening on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play, we do record the podcast live every Monday at 8:30 on Twitch. And after the podcast is over, we do a Q&A session with all those members in the chat room. So you should probably stop by sometime and watch us do a live recording as well. But we still appreciate all you that watch us on the go. But as I said at the beginning, we did both attend the Pokemon World Championships in Washington, D.C. this past weekend. Both of us had very different experiences. But, Duck, let's start with you, because you played in the D.C. Open.
We're going right into the Open first?
Why not? We don't have to go into your pairings just yet, but what was your experience like? This is your first World Championship, okay. Was it not?
Yes. So, for me, playing in the Open, it was basically another regionals. I've been in plenty of regionals. It felt the same. It was just the day of rest instead of being on the last day. It was the first day because I was continuing to play on Sunday, and like the matches on stream weren't even part of my tournament. That was really the only differences.
Yeah, essentially you had two tournaments going on. You had the World Championship and you had the DC Open, both going on at the same time, which, from my perspective, screwed me over royally. Because I'll tell you, yeah, I got there early Saturday. I didn't go down as early as you did because I wasn't playing in the Open. So I got there Saturday morning, and I was one of the first ones there, through the security line and everything. And I got lined up in the side events, and after about 45 minutes, the organizer for that came around and said, who's here for Pokemon Go? And we're like, nobody. We're all here to play cards, brother. Come on. And they said, well, we're not going to be doing any TCG side events for the foreseeable future. Apparently, they either oversold, which is the words he used, or I think more accurately is I don't think they realized how much space they actually had. And they didn't have any open tables for the side events. So I got hosed on doing side events pretty much. So we end up having to get into a Pokemon Go side event. I did get some pretty cool water bottles out of it, but that's a completely different story, which I'll go into because that was clown shoes. I'll tell you that right now. But overall, I mean, it was a pretty well. I don't want to say well organized because I don't want to say that because I don't think it was, but it was a fun event. They had like I said, the TCG, the VGC, and the DC Open, Pokken DX all going on at the same time. They had a Pokemon Go Cup as well as a big scavenger hunt. Nintendo was there and they had Sword and Shield set up. They also had Pokemon Masters set up, and a lot of autograph sessions were going on as well, which we'll go into. And other than that, I mean, there was quite a few things going on, quite a few little side things to keep you occupied.
Yeah, one thing to note is that this was their biggest Worlds of all time.
It was. This was the biggest.
They've never had this many attendees before.
No. And then on top of that, having multiple tournaments going on at the same time. From my understanding from my wife, she actually attended a convention in that same building. There actually is bigger rooms, bigger halls in that exact same building. So it's kind of disappointing that they had, maybe for some reason they couldn't book the bigger room. I don't know. But it didn't seem like there was anything going on there. But yeah, I think they dealt well with what they had, because I think they were limited by their space and what they could do, which was disappointing. But They did what they advertised.
Yeah, I think they did a fine job. It was kind of annoying when uh it would be like you'd hear an announcement while you're playing in the tournament trying to figure out if you need to start turns, and it would be like this tournament for this age division for
This flight,
you are now in time. Yeah, so I was like Masters Division, DC Open, Flight 2. So I had to listen for all of that before I knew if I was in time or not. And then usually it was a different.
I'll tell you this. I heard the PA speakers quite a bit. They were talking on there. They were chirping quite a bit. I never understood a single word they said.
Oh yeah, there was lots of people that were late for their matches because you couldn't, if you weren't standing like right there, you couldn't hear it. Like once I started to see people show up late because they couldn't hear, I just stayed in the tournament area so I could.
Yeah.
I would be sure to hear
that. And they only made announcements in English. That's another problem I saw. But
oh wow, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, there was only announcements in English. And I'll tell you, one of the side events I got into, which was really kind of a neat thing, because what they did when they finally got TCG side events going, is they were firing off pods of 4. And so the one pod I got into, my oldest son and I, we sat down, played, and I had 2 other players there. One of them was from Japan, and another one, I know he's from Europe. I don't know where. There was quite a bit of a language barrier, but I'll tell you, we had a great time just playing that game. So shout out to Baba and Sebastian, great guys. And they were doing very well because there is no in side events, there is no age divisions. It's just whoever signs up. My son was playing a deck he'd never played before. They were very patient with him, and that was awesome. And that's something you have to really admire about the Pokemon community. The vast majority of people that you run into are genuinely good people, and they're people you can have a good conversation with, and they're not jerks. and as a big plus compared to other TCGs that have actually had to put stuff in their rule books because of it, they usually don't smell.
Yeah.
Usually. Yeah, they usually don't smell. Not usually. I'm saying we have a couple. We smelled a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Captain Sweatpants was there as his disciples, I'll tell you that much. But like I said, we got stuck doing a Pokemon Go scavenger hunt because there was really nothing else to do until the side events got up going for us. And we met a lot of people because there was certain things you had to make new friends. You had to trade with somebody who came from over 6,000 kilometers away. So now I got a bunch of Japanese guys on my friends list. So I'm hoping to get some good stuff. But so we ended up doing a lot of good things. And the store was, once you were able to get the line thinned out and get into the thing, they had some pretty phenomenal stuff in there. And I've got a stack of mats downstairs. It was pretty cool swag I ended up picking up. Backpack. And for those of you listening that were there, yes, I got a dice set and you didn't.
Yeah, those dice sets and deck boxes were flying quick.
Well, when I left on Sunday, they still had deck boxes in stock. But yeah, I got a dice set. We had a mutual friend that actually went down on Thursday with you, I believe. And he was actually able to pick me up a dice set. So I'm very thankful for that. But I'm going to play them.
Were they sold out completely on Sunday?
Oh, Sunday, nothing. They were gone before Saturday. They were gone Friday.
Oh. See, I had one thinking it was a deck box.
Oh.
And then just didn't buy it because I didn't want the dice.
Oh, dude, they're awesome. I'll show them to you. They're pretty cool. So let's go down your experience from Worlds to the time you got there. What happened when you showed up? How bad were the lines?
So the line was wrapped when we got there. The line was wrapped the entire way around the whole building on the outside because they were only letting people go through one door.
Wow.
So you go through the one door, you get up to the place where you get your badges and everything because that you had to have badges the whole time, like to presented to be in the hall, the main hall. So it was a line to get to the line, and then you had to wait in the second line to get your badges, and then the first line was like to get your bag checked.
Yeah, yeah. And that was a lot of security theater because they only ever looked in the main pocket. They never looked in the side pockets or anything else. But it was a very
Um,
time-consuming process.
yeah. So I'm a little like when I walked in on day one, I was like, I don't actually feel safe. And then as they went forward more on each day, it seemed they got a little bit more, you know,
Yeah. Well,
uh,
it didn't help that
fancy with your bags.
On Sunday there was a protest going on outside. Uh,
Oh, I didn't even know.
yeah, there was an Aramark protest. There were picketers outside, so it was, and they had a lot more security and police showing up because of that. And they were being
There was plenty of security in the hall though.
Yes, yes, there absolutely was. I can't fault them for that in any way, shape, or
So
form.
I think they took like recent events into account, and I think they did a good job, and there were no incidents. So
No, none at all.
it
I
worked
didn't.
out.
I did not see anything. I think the closest thing that came to an incident was me when I got very mad at the.
That was outside.
No, no, no,
Was
no.
it?
One inside.
Oh,
One inside.
okay.
Because we did
What
that.
happened?
We did that Pokemon Go scavenger hunt I talked about, and you had to collect 6 different things off a list of 12 to get a water bottle. Very nice water bottles. I'm told by my wife she's very happy to take it to work tomorrow so she can show it off. But they had ones for Valor, Instinct, and Mystic. Well, when she went through, she was able to get through probably about 20 minutes and verify all her prizes. And then when it was time for me to go through, it took about an hour and 45 minutes.
Jeez.
Yeah, well, when we got pretty close to the front, the organizer came around and told us that they only had 2 Mystic bottles left. And guess what? Team Mystic. So um, I was already pretty peeved about that, but I figured whatever, I'll get the Valor once. I'll trade somebody for something decent or something like, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. Still pretty ticked. When I got up there, one of the things I had to do was trade with somebody that was 6,000 kilometers away. Well, it just so happens I had met a gentleman and his son from Tokyo, and they traded me an unknown, which I hadn't had yet, so win-win.
Oh, awesome.
And when I showed her my trade, I said, here it is. You can see right here on the screen. It was traded today, and it's from Tokyo. Well, that's not what she wanted to see. She wanted a screenshot of the trade, the blue screen trade taking place, because it actually says the distance. And I said, let's use our brains for a minute, okay? Okay, let's use our brains. It's today, and it's in Tokyo. Do you think Tokyo's 6,000 miles or 6,000 kilometers away? Probably a few more than that, actually. Come on now, let's use our brains. So, getting a little heated, but after I stood in line for an hour and a half, I was quite irritated to begin with. Then the thing I was waiting for, they didn't have, and then she was going to try to snake me on it. She gave it to me, but it's a Valor. So, if anyone wants a Valor, Liberty something water bottle, I've got it for trade. If you got something good.
Valid. But I probably wouldn't. I don't want it.
Okay, so let's talk about the controversy. We did have some controversy that I don't think is that controversial.
Which
We got the finals.
penalties?
The penalties.
Okay.
So we had a situation where in the finals, we had essentially the game was decided by a 2-card penalty for slow play.
Yep.
Okay. So
So
what's your opinion on it? And now granted, I'm going to cite the rules in black and white. We're going to go over it.
well, right. I was reading the chat as it was happening, and everybody was like, "Oh, rig judge." He wasn't playing his opponent; he was playing the judge. All this stuff, and unfortunately, they said the rules say that you get a slow play penalty. You have 15 seconds to make each action. Every deck
Right.
search, every action you're meant to take, draw a card, everything. Apparently he had taken up to 70 seconds in the top 8 in one of his top 8 matches to promote his Pokemon after he was knocked out.
Yeah. So.
So they gave him a warning.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the finals round, I watched the video and I counted, it took him 40 seconds before the judges stopped him and said, "Hey, you were warned yesterday. Now we're giving you a 2 prize penalty for slow play. And that's exactly what happens if you get that. It says in the rules it
Right.
stacks.
Well, let's look at the rules a minute, because I actually have them. For those of you watching on Twitch, I'm going to put them on screen. Otherwise, you can just follow along here. But in full disclosure, both Duck and I are both judges for the Pokemon Company. So you may be thinking, oh, they're just going to defend their own. Listen to previous episodes. I have no problem throwing a bad call under the bus.
Yeah, we did call him out for the whole fiasco.
At North American Internationals, we chucked that judge under the bus.
Yeah.
So that's not the case, and you can believe what you want. But in 8.4 of the rule book, it talks about game tempo. And it is very clear that certain things do have time limits. Now, no one typically sits there with a stopwatch. It's just a general, okay, this is what it should be, and we try to keep it there. They actually used to have judge stopwatches. I've seen them for eBay. They haven't been around in a long time. But the rule states the pace of Pokemon TCG should be lively without being excessively fast, and each player should receive approximately half the allotted time of the game. Okay, that means you're not going to slow play. However, the way players react to pressure can have an impact on the tempo, which can take their turns. Which they take their turns, yeah. Judges should watch for changes in tempo and make corrections if needed. Okay, so we can go on about that, but there's certain things it actually says specifically, such as performing the actions of a card or attack, 15 seconds. Shuffling and setting up, 2 minutes. Shuffling and deck search mid-game, 15 seconds. Starting the turn after your opponent has ended their turn, 5 seconds. Considering the game position before playing a card, 10 seconds. Now, notes being a game should be using the same time listed above. For an example, a player making a note about mid-game deck searches must do so within the same 15 seconds allowed for that action. Now, that addresses something that most people don't do, is you actually are allowed to take notes. Just when you start when you start the game, you have to start with a blank piece of paper. It has to be 100% blank. Can't be anything written on it, nothing pre-printed.
Fun fact about the notes is you're also not allowed to use codes.
Nope, it has to be.
So you can't search your deck and make use numbers that represent certain cards in your deck.
Yeah, it has to be decipherable. Anyway, so then we can go on into 8.4.1, specifically addressing slow play. And it essentially says that slow play penalties should escalate to a double prize card penalties after the first warning, but should not exceed a double prize card penalty. Now, what a lot of people are not understanding is that these are stacked for the event. It's not a single. It doesn't after every match your warnings reset. The big thing you got to remember is this is a multi-day event. So if he had received any warning whatsoever in the last 2 days, it was automatically a double prize card penalty for slow play. And for that particular action, it should have taken him no more than 15 seconds. And from my understanding, there was several penalties or several warnings issued. And it should have been even after the first warning, he should have got a double prize card penalty. So everyone's saying, well, the judge should have shown discretion. I think the judge did. I think the judge did show discretion. But at a certain point, if you're showing discretion for one player, does that mean you're giving that player an unfair advantage over the other player?
So, one thing that I think about, one thing that seemed really bad is that there was only 2 prizes remaining when he took the 2 prize penalty. So it was essentially a game loss. But you don't consider that state of the game. You don't consider the opponent's prizes or the matchup of the decks when you decide what the penalty is. That's the penalty no matter what. Yeah. And in the finals, you should be less lenient than you are in the Swiss rounds in the beginning of the tournament.
I think you're absolutely right. That's essentially what people are saying as well. Since it's the Super Bowl, they shouldn't have got a 10-yard penalty. It should have been a 5-yard penalty. Why? It's the same game, played under the same rules.
I don't disagree with the call of the judges.
No, I don't. I can't. I mean, I genuinely feel bad for the kid. I do. I genuinely feel bad. But I'm sorry. uh, you screwed up. I understand it's a very stressful situation. I mean, you were there with me. We saw the stage set up. Um, it's it is a very stressful situation to be up on that stage.
Yeah, I couldn't. I've never been on stream or anything like that, but I imagine I would, be pretty nervous and probably misplay because of it. Because I already misplay, during normal low stress rounds.
Now, some people are asking why couldn't he have just given him a run card prize penalty? Because it is a major infraction. It's not a minor. It's a major infraction, and he already received a warning for it. And a major infraction requires a 2-card penalty. So that, I was just addressing people asking in chat. So
Yeah.
So yeah, we were there, and I can imagine sitting up on that stage with all those people watching, knowing that you're on stream in front of thousands of people. I know for a fact there was about 8,000 people on stream at that point. And it's gonna be scrutinized, and you're gonna be either the hero or the mule. So, it's a very stressful situation. I feel bad for them, but yeah, it was absolutely the right call.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. They weren't favoring what was his name? Brent. They weren't favoring Henry. They weren't favoring Henry by giving his opponent a 2-prize penalty. That's just literally
it's literally what it is.
It's literally it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but
it's unfortunate but true.
Yeah.
So there was that, and there was also talk that they penalized him so hard because he got away with something earlier. Yeah, he did.
He did. I did see him get away with something. There's a clip going around the internet where he benches a Poiple and then evolves it into an Aganadel at the same turn, but his turn was really long. So
his turn was really long, but if you watch, he's moving like grease lightning. Yeah. I mean, if I was the judge, I would have told him to slow down.
I'm pretty sure he puts his hand out, and I think he's asking, was this Pokemon already out for a turn? And he must have got some kind of confirmation from his opponent or one of the judges, and then evolved it.
That is what it looks like.
It's probably kind of confused. It was just a confusing time, and you didn't know.
Yep, and apparently nobody else there knew either because it wasn't caught. But I can tell you right now, I don't know every judge there. I do know a good number of them, as do you. And I can tell you that I think the other judges would drum that judge out if they thought for a moment he was trying to do something to get back because they got over on him. I don't think that. I have a real hard time believing that's what happened. And if you look at the rules, it was 100% right. So I'm not buying into that. I'm not going to entertain anybody talking about that.
There's not really an argument anymore.
No. It was clear, defined, and over with, so that's that. And that's our opinion on the matter. And you know what? No, it's the facts on the matter. It's not even our opinion, it's the facts. So get off of it. Off the soapbox, okay. So, what do you want to go into next, now that we've got the hard stuff out of the way?
I think we should go in the order of the the outline. So, I was there. I made it Friday morning before the opening ceremony started. I got there. I literally got and stood in my position right as they started the first trailer. Right as the announcer woman walked out.
Right.
So
which clearly didn't her script just did not sound natural at all, but go ahead.
Yeah, you can it's better than it was though. Like
true.
It was real cringy in the years since I've been watching, and she seems to actually understand some of the Pokemon mechanics now. So in the trailer, we got a few new types of cards, and they revealed that February's set, or they didn't reveal that. The first set in the new block after they rotate out of Sun and Moon is going to be Sword and Shield, obviously, and that should come out in February. And then they went into this little trailer recapping all the GXs and the tag team GXs. And they revealed Pokemon V is going to be the ultimate successor to Pokemon GX.
See, everyone on site thought, Pokemon 5? What is this Pokemon 5 you speak of?
That's what I thought. But as you can see, they showed us Zamazenta and Seishin V. And you probably, if you might have missed it, but as it was scrolling, as the pictures were scrolling by, it says that there are 2 prizes. The V rule is you take 2 prizes when you...
All right, so they're essentially being treated just like GX cards.
GX cards with more HP than tag team GXs.
Yes.
And then, so since they showed those images and pictures, we've taken a look. It's been analyzed. Lots of people on the internet, and if you read the text on the Zamazenta card when it shows its attack, when it shows its attack, it says this Pokemon is immune to damage from your opponent's Pokemon VMAX, or from your opponent's VMAX Pokemon.
Okay. So what is a VMAX?
So when they showed the Pikachu and Zekrom in front of the big red card, the V is different than the V on the Zamazenta and Seishin, and it's all rainbowy, and that reminds me of Mega Evolution. Was often represented by like swirly rainbow colors, just like the V. So I believe that the VMAX cards are going to evolve from the V Pokemon. And it's going to be similar to Mega Evolution, but maybe you don't need an item like you did. Like you needed the Soul Link.
Something like that. Yeah, the Soul Link cards.
Something like that. And I really hope that the VMAX card, hypothetical VMAX card, is shown really, really big above the Pikachu and Zekrom. I really hope that they don't be like, well, this is how you Dynamax your TCG cards, so you got to use a jumbo card. No, I really hope that I don't have to have some secondary storage for my cards.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to use tokens now.
That doesn't fit in my deck box.
I seriously doubt that. I think they're just showing it as, because what we see is a Pikachu and a Zekrom looking at the card. I think, since this is HP on that card is 330. 330
HP. That's nuts.
That's insane.
But it probably won't be nuts because 270 HP isn't nuts anymore.
Not really. So, but I think this is gonna. I think you're right in that this is gonna be the form of Gigamaxing, Dynamaxing, whatever we're calling it. And I there's got to be more rules to it. I don't know. We won't see them because the card's completely blacked out, other than the V logo and the HP count. Everything else is completely blacked out. But it's obviously going to be a rival to a tag team card.
Right. I think it's probably Eternatus, the Pokemon that's not revealed yet, but it's pretty much confirmed.
That's good. Good possibility.
Or it could be Zamazenta or Zacian, their VMAX form or whatever. However they're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think they're going to try to link it into the games somehow with Sword and Shield. So
I believe maybe it's a certain amount of turns. Maybe it's a permanent evolution. There's who knows. We might have to have a little counter or a dice to flip around to count down turns that we have our VMAX. Or
it could be treated like a break card, or
yeah, it's
we don't know. Yeah, we don't know yet, so we'll have to wait and see.
Information on that in the future.
Hopefully, there's some leaks that come out, and we can report to you right here on the Mount Moon Review podcast.
We definitely will.
So what else you got?
So next, why don't we go over my tournament report?
Let's do that. I want to hear how you did, because I still don't know. I don't know what your record ended up being.
Oh, you don't know what my record ended up being?
No. Where did you end up finishing?
So I finished 170th. I'm not sure how many people played in the second pod, or whatever the second flight with me. But I finished 170th with 15 match points, 5 wins, 4 losses. So I broke even, and my best record before that was 178th, with 5 wins, 3 losses, 1 tie.
Okay.
So round 1, I got paired against the Turbo Reshizard. If you saw Tord, if any of Tord's lists, or what, if you saw any of Tord's games, it was kind of like a worse version of his list, and I don't think my opponent in round 1 was very experienced. He had some things that I was afraid of him doing, and he chose to play. He didn't play around Mew Mewtwo's ability. That's another thing I should say. I was playing Mew and Mewtwo tag team with Rainbow Energy and Welder, and just lots of different attackers. I had Dragonite GX, both Greninja GXs to hit through all effects, and I added 2 Latios GX because it's so important to be immune to tag teams.
Well, you
So
got
it's basically just stay immune to
everything.
everything. Basically, I can be immune to GX. The only thing that was scary, the only thing that's scary, is basic Pokemon that attack and can 2-hit KO Mewtwo. That's the only thing that's scary.
Right, and you had Banana Jet there just in case.
Yes, exactly. But Banana Jet's a secret.
So, just so everybody is aware, you can also check out the Blue Duck Gold Duck Twitch channel. It's Blue Duck Gold Duck without the E, and you too can learn all about the Banana Jet when he plays Pokemon Ruby on his Nuzlocke plays. And yes, I am responsible partly for the Banana Jet. I'm going to take responsibility for that.
The Banana Jet is OP. Let me just tell you. But yes, so round 1 was the Turbo Reshizard. I won game 1. We didn't complete game 2. I won game 1 and then just continually stayed immune to all his attacks for the rest of the time. And then round 2, I played Ultra Malamar with that's Malamar with Ultra Necrozma. I won game 1. I immediately started sniping his Zinke's, and when he went in for more, he realized the rest were prized. So he just scooped, and we went to game 2. Played a really close game 2, but he got me with the power plant. Mewtwo's weakness is Psychic, and Giratina hits for 260 if I'm weak to it, and then my 10 damage from the Rainbow Energy knocks you out.
Awesome.
So normally I have the Jirachi GX on board to be immune, but the power plant also turns off Jirachi's GX's ability, so I am weak to Psychic when power plant's out. Then game 3, I thought I was going to be able to force the tie. My opponent pulled it out and won. It is what it is. Oh yeah, that's the game. That's the game where I reset stamp him down to 3 to try to force the tie, and he drew power plant and 2 custom catchers.
Ooh.
Off the 3, and that's exactly what he needed.
God pull, baby.
Well, he one of them, he top decked the Cynthia, played the power plant, and then got 2 custom catchers off the Cynthia.
So yeah, that's insane.
Final turn, in turn 3 of time, he hit me for game. Next round, I played Malamar with Garchomp Giratina, and it's the same thing. They don't even use their tag teams. They just attack with Giratina. I have to take 6 prizes, while they just have to find a power plant. But my opponent in round 3 was only playing 1 power plant, so I was able to maneuver it. It was real close. Once again, I thought it was going to be a tie. He ended up, I won game 1. He won game 2. Game 3, he pulled it out and won. That's just my worst matchup. Anything with Giratina in it.
Understandable.
So Malamar, I didn't think I was going into any auto losses, but it's a way worse matchup than I thought. Then round 4, I actually played a friend.
Really?
Is kind of local. He doesn't come to my league or your league or anything, but he's at a league that I often go to for every cup they have.
That's still kind of neat. Of all the people that you could have ran into, it's somebody you actually know. So that's kind of cool. Right.
And he was playing Gardevoir Sylveon tag team, and he was pretty confident in them. I sat down and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. That sucks. When I saw his deck, I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks. This should be a a hard matchup. He's like, no, it's easy, and then went into everything he had in his deck.
Oh, thanks, dude.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I felt bad, but yeah, I immediately started placing my outs. On turn 1, I had every single out I needed to anything he could do,
I mean,
and he also bricked. So I knocked out his only tag Malamar, or well, his only Gardevoir Sylveon in game 1.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Not take the advice he just gave you?
Right. Game 2, he did set up. He had a Gardevoir Sylveon with like 4 or 5 energy, but he had to leave it active with the energy on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to one-shot it, which meant he had no energy left. And then he had to continuously try to draw into more energy while I kept reset stamping him.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Once I saw he was dead drawing, I held on to the reset stamp. And he kept reset stamping me, and so I was draw, attack, and then he was like healing all the damage. Eventually he had run out of all his healing options, and I overpowered him.
Just smacked him.
Yep, right on. Just an easy 2-0.
And he's not holding it against you, is he?
I don't know. I don't think so. I said I was sorry, and he's like, "No, that's cool. I played a deck that bricks, and it bricked."
All right.
I don't think he thought that my skill was. I think he only thought he lost because of, being unlucky, and not because of the skill. My skill.
if it helps him sleep at night.
Right. Sure. Whatever. I mean, I don't care if he thought that or not. Round 5, I played Pikarom, which is the matchup I tested the most. It's usually a pretty good win as long as I can get the Latios GX out and continuously tag purge. Because what happens is I'm not immune to the Zeraora, but they promote the Zeraora to attack me because I'm immune to tag teams. And then I knock that out with most of their energy, like all the energy that they accelerated with the deck engine. I knock out the Zeraora, and then they can't retreat. And often they can't follow up the knockout, even if I don't stay immune to tag teams.
Right on. So it's a very. They think it's going to go one way, and it never does.
Exactly. Now, I want to point out that in this format, every single game is either you bricked and lost, or it was super close.
Yeah, it's really.
You either brick and one player bricks, and it's an easy win for the other player, or it's coming down to if you don't win this turn, I win next turn. I really like this format a lot more than I like the old format because you would know on turn 1 if you won the game or not a lot of times.
So this whole new format's really throwing a lot of things out of whack. I mean, with all the cards that came out, all the cards that you're trying to find to replace them, that's what I think's going on right now. Is everyone's trying to say, okay, we don't have Guzma, so we need to have the 2 custom catchers. Well, instead of trying to think of a way to draw the card up, eventually we're going to evolve into a whole other way of playing. So.
Yeah, I like Custom Catcher. I think it's much more healthy than Guzma or Lysander was, because it's you got to play 2.
Right. I actually don't have a problem with Custom Catcher, and I actually still have 2 of yours in my deck, so I'll have to get them back to you.
Yeah, you can continue to borrow 1, but I do need that other one because it wasn't in my deck this weekend, but it's in my deck now.
All right, so if anybody has any Custom Catchers they want to throw my way, I'll take them because I can't find them.
Round 6, I played another Malamar Giratina deck. I didn't see any tag. The only tag team I saw, he'd never played it, but it was the Gengar Mimikyu tag team. So I saw him shuffle it back in with Pokemon Communication. So he just knew that if he played down the tag team, he was going to get messed up.
Yeah, so that'd be it.
So I lost game 1 to him. Won game 2. It came down to turns and time again, and he ended up winning with. He did have the Espeon Deoxys tag team as well, and he won with that in the final turn of time.
And would you guys actually get a turn 0 on that?
Yeah, Yeah.
Okay.
And this guy has been a Worlds competitor before, and I don't think he competed in Worlds this year, but he had all this Worlds memorabilia.
Well, doesn't mean he didn't buy it. I mean,
Right. He said he had, and by the way he spoke,
he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah. It seemed like he was a very,
Seasoned,
avid competitor. Yeah, seasoned opponent.
Got ya.
So he took the win, and then his record he actually went and made like top 32.
Okay, so there's no shame in losing there.
Yeah. So did the guy I lost to in round 2. And then round 3 was Pikarom. I was completely bricked for the beginning of the game. I went through over half the deck and didn't see a Rainbow Energy or a Welder. And then he took a free knockout, a free 3 prizes. And then by the time I was like, okay, I can respond, I can knock this guy out. 1 second.
Duck's gonna die again, folks.
Yep. I can knock him out as long as this Cherish Ball gets me Charizard Reshiram. And I was bricking. I hadn't searched the deck much yet. Charizard Reshiram was prized, so I'm like, okay, let's go to game 2. And then we played a super, super close game 2. He had 3 cards left in the deck. I had like 8. And 2 of his 3 cards were custom catchers. So he drew the rest of his deck. I was gonna win on the next turn. I could snipe a Dedenne for knockout with
you just
GX attack.
The draws were just not in your favor.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
These guys all had the heart of the cards, man.
It was crazy. How did these people reset stamp and like? I mean, he knew he had custom catchers. He was switching around and stalling. To get through his deck till he got the custom catchers.
Yeah, thin it out, get where you need to be.
Exactly. So that's what he had, the custom catchers for game. I'm not mad about that one.
No, you can't be.
So, that was the end of day 1 of the Open. That's the Saturday evening.
Now, let me ask you a question about that, because I know on day 2, for every win, you guys were collecting 10 prize wall tickets.
Yeah, not on day 1.
There was nothing on day 1 at all.
No.
Just thanks for being here.
Oh, you got 1 participation ticket. So.
Okay. So moving on to day 2.
Okay, so yeah, day 2, I sit down and it's another Malamar deck. This guy, turn 1 for him, used. I started Reshizard, which is a pretty bad thing to start with. But I went first, so I, got Reshizard a couple energy on it. And then pass to him. He starts with he starts with Gengar Mimikyu in the active. And does some switch shenanigans like Malamar does, Malamar decks do. Gets a couple Inkay out, gets yada yada. And
things didn't go well from there.
I knock out an active Jirachi. He does the Gengar Mimikyu thing where I'm not allowed to play any items. Yeah, that's what he did turn 1. I wasn't allowed to play any item cards, so... Or you're not allowed to play any cards from your hand. It's a 1 energy GX attack. He passes. Or I pass, because I just draw pass, that's it. I can't play anything. Then he uses his GX attack, or the regular attack that does 50 damage for every trainer, and does 210 damage to the Charizard.
Ouch.
Well, that was fine because I just attached energy and outrage.
Yeah, so you can throw outrage on him there, and it's 30 plus 10 for every 10.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Yep. So that was easy 3 prizes. He was not able to. He didn't have enough Malamar to respond to the knockout to knock out my Charizard. I retreated the Charizard, started attacking with Mewtwo. And he realized there was no way he was going to win, so we went to game 2. Game 2, he tried to hit me with the Gengar Mimikyu again, but I predicted that and played all the items out of my hand. Like, he should have known when I was discarding stadiums for my stadium to discard and get energy out. I discarded a giant hearth with giant hearth.
See, the problem is a lot of people when they try to learn a deck, they learn a very specific way to play it.
Yeah, no, that he said he had a friend that played. I heard from multiple people that they had friends that tested the Mew Mew tag team deck, and they didn't see anything like mine.
That's great. I mean, you can't really.
Oh yeah, no.
Can't be upset by that at all. But yeah,
So
that's the thing. People playing Reshazard, every time they put down a green, or Green's Exploration, they're going to pull a green. They're going to pull another green and another card. Usually a Flintstone if they don't have anything in the discard yet. And that's the play. It's what it is every time. And it's very rare that you're going to find someone who's going to play differently. And typically the people that play differently are the people that have not played that deck into ad nauseum. So they're the wild card factor you have to deal with.
Right. I generally can tell what my opponent's going to do. But yeah, sometimes they surprise you. And sometimes it's for the better. Like, I can't believe you would put the second tag team down. Like in game 2, you gave me another tag team and you could just smoke through my deck with Giratina.
Like, well, thanks for that. Bam.
Yeah. No, I was like, well, if he does this, I don't think he's gonna do it, but if he does, I'm okay. And he did it. Well.
Oh my God, he's doing it!
Now,
he's doing it!
Yep. There was he wasn't really able to overpower me, and then round 9, 4-4. My opponent did not show up, so I got a free win.
Really? Just dropped on you?
Yeah, I guess. But he was also the guy sitting next to me said that he played that guy before, and he's like, he's playing Reshizard tag team, and I'm like, oh, like the turbo one. And he said, and the version he was playing, I had a pretty good chance against, as long as he probably had 3 or 4 power plants, so as long as I can bump those, which I usually can, there's not much of an issue.
Well, he either probably got sick of going it, realized he wasn't going to advance too far, or he just rage quit. Or he had the problem, too, it was Sunday. Maybe he had to go home.
Yeah, maybe he ran out of time.
Which, ended up screwing me in the long run, which we'll get to when we're done with your wrap-up. Go on.
Well, that's it. That's 9 rounds.
Cool. Well, your second day was on Sunday. Now, Sunday morning, after breakfast and after I got a shower, we all went on the expedition to the parking garage to drop off your bags.
Yep.
and we made our way up to the convention center, and you and I had a very inviting, let's just say that way. We were actually able to go up on the one stage and do a little photo session for the podcast, which was really, really cool that we were able to do that. We got went up there we also went up with the trophies, had pictures taken with those, and as we're standing there, looking through the pictures, seeing what we got, seeing if we had to do anything else, a staff member walked up to us and goes, "Oh, hey, here, would you like these?" And
yeah, that was awesome. So I wanna tell a little story about Friday morning.
All right, go ahead. Then we'll tell you what the guy handed us. Right.
So Friday morning, as we are after the ceremony and we watched the trailers and stuff, I really wanted to be there for that. Like, that was important to me to see the big reveal live. And then so some of our friends went right to stand in line for the Poke Center after that.
The line was astronomical.
Right. Me and Verge in the chat, we went together. Verge and I stayed in the same room. We went together. We got lost trying to figure out how to get to the Pokemon Center. We went down the wrong set of stairs, which forced us to go in a tunnel under the street. And as we're going through the tunnel, from around another corner walks Ishihara, the president of the Pokemon Company, and his little entourage.
It wasn't little.
Oh, right. There was like five men in suits surrounding him.
Yeah.
So I'm walking, of course I'm looking back at him like, oh, hey, like, this is a really important guy. And when he sees me looking back, he points at my backpack, which had a Psyduck plushie, my Charizard plushie, and this Golduck plushie sticking out of it. And he points and goes, thumbs up. And I'm like, thank you, sir. Thank you. And I'm thinking, like, after I walked away from him, I'm like, I should ask for his autograph.
Yeah, you should have.
So when we were standing by that stage, we saw the line of people we saw the people sitting in line, and we're like, where are they sitting in line? And they pointed out the poster of people doing signatures that day. And Ishihara is one of the people doing the signatures. I'm like, I should have freaking asked for a signature.
Yeah, because that line was astronomical. But the reason that guy handed us something is because they were actually going to cut the line off. And the bracelet ensured that you got up to meet Ishihara. So he gave he handed me one, handed you one, and then he goes, do you guys want any more? And I'm like, yeah, give me 2 more for the kids. So yeah, that was neat. But unfortunately, I looked at the time; it had a time frame on there, and it was like 12:45, and I had to check out of the hotel by noon. So unfortunately, I couldn't go. So I made it a point to. I went around. I found. I'm making assumptions, but it was a mother by herself, and she had 2 kids with her. They all had spectators passes. I asked them if they had anybody else here, and they didn't. They were there purely as spectators. They weren't there because they had somebody as a competitor. And I asked them if they knew who Ishihara was, and the kids had they knew the name, and I explained to the mother he's the president of the Pokemon company, and she's like, oh, okay. I'm like, she didn't know why I was explaining this to her, but I just gave her my passes, and the kids lit up. It was amazing. So if you happen to be there and saw 2 kids just losing their minds, it's because of that. But you did get to stay.
I did, and so after the Open finished up, I went and I watched the seniors finals, which is a great match, and if you want to cry, just continue to watch the end of it. Yeah. It was very wholesome. So I watched the seniors finals, and then around the time that the Masters finals was starting, that was when I went to make sure I was near the place where the line would start. So I just stood there and I watched the Twitch. I listened to the chat on the stream on my phone and watched from across the room the Masters finals. And so I stood in line for about 2 hours.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I was pretty close to the front.
Dedication, man. Dedication.
Well, yeah, and so I wanted to get a card signed, but I actually had a little mishap where I left my deck box on the competition tables.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and I was freaking out. I got my badge signed, my competitor badge. So it wasn't a total loss. But so I get to the front, I get the picture taken, and then I go and I find my deck box. It was in Lost and Found.
Thank God.
Lucky enough that a staff member picked it up and not, somebody who is just like, oh wow, look at this. Somebody just left the deck that just won Worlds on the table, right?
But if you're watching on Twitch, you can actually see a picture right here of Duck taking a selfie with Ishihara. So that's awesome. I'm glad you got to do that. Now, when I did have a small interaction with the man during the juniors finals. We were sitting in a chair, and they had a little raised platform right next to us where we were at. And I see all these people come out and file up on there and sit down. And there's a guy sitting right in the corner, and I'm looking. I'm like, no, can't be. I'm leaning over, and sure enough, it was Ishihara. He sat right next to us for the juniors finals, which was kind of cool. Now his bodyguard was shooting daggers at me. I thought he was just gonna reach out and strangle me for being that close, but he stayed for the first round of the juniors finals, and he left. I don't know where he was going, but him and his entire entourage of about 10 people just filed out. So I'm not sure where they all went. But I'm really glad you got to meet him. I mean, at least you got to.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience, and something that I didn't even know was a possibility.
Yeah, and it was kind of cool that we got to do that little bit of a photo shoot there on the stage. That they allowed us to do that, and we did get to use those pictures. So if you happen to be on Facebook and you just search for the Mount Moon Review podcast, there now is a Facebook page, and we do have the pictures up on there to take a look at.
Yeah, you did a really good job with that.
I did it while laying in bed.
Yeah. Do you want to go over the championship matches?
We can do that. We can go over the championship matches. I think we're going to save all the VGC stuff for next week's episode, though.
Yep, that's fine.
So let's go over the championship matches.
So juniors finals, I watched them all today. I didn't really get to see this one much because this round was going on during the Open.
Yep, I actually got to sit and watch this one, like I just said with Ishihara.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I was sitting right under a dang AC duct or something, so it was
Oh.
it was getting rained on the whole time.
Oh, that sucks.
I couldn't figure out where the water was coming from, and finally we realized we were under a HVAC piece, and yeah, we were getting rained on.
So the juniors was Reshizard, but the greens build, and versus Pikarom.
I will say that I was running the Reshizar Greens build,
Yeah.
so I have a little love for it.
Fortunately, Reshizard has a worse matchup for Pikarom than it used to because it no longer one-shots. Pikarom, it only does 230, and there's not really a way to boost the damage, while Pikarom has 240 HP.
Yeah.
And then, it has Pikarom was, in my opinion, was the best deck, most consistent.
Oh, I think we lost Duck. So we're going to go ahead and reset that. But yeah, I think we lost Duck there for a minute. We'll get him back in here.
Deck to set up.
Oh, there he is. So we did lose you there, Duck.
Okay.
So
what was the last thing I said?
We were just talking about Pikarom being the best deck.
Okay, so yeah, it was the most consistent deck in testing, in my opinion. So I'm not surprised it did well. I didn't expect it to do as poorly in the other H divisions.
Yeah, it was kind of shocking how low it actually kind of went. I expected it to. I was actually expecting it to possibly be the championship deck.
Right. So I'm not surprised that Pikarom was able to win against Green's Reshizard. A little unfortunate. I like Reshizard better than Pikarom, but
it is what it is.
What it is.
Yep.
So that was Haruki Miyamoto that won with Pikarom.
Yes.
And we didn't see a game 3 in any of the finals.
No, it was all pretty decisive except for the penalty ending, but
yes,
I guess you could say that was pretty decisive in itself too.
Yeah. Next we had the seniors. I was able to watch almost all of this one, and it was Turbo Reshizard. Like if you saw Tord's list, it was the one that has Heatran. Which, did you know Heatran was the thing going into Worlds?
I didn't.
Because somebody broke the format with it and kept it a secret.
Yeah. But hey,
130 damage, being able to switch and move your energy around consistently, and then super scoop up the damage Heatran, it completely destroys the Malamar matchup.
I'm all for monkey wrenches getting thrown in. I really am.
Yeah, so it was really cool to watch. It was pretty exciting. Victini Prism Star is in there. You eventually end up with a deck full of energy after you just did like 300 damage with Victini with a one prize attacker.
Yeah, so it's definitely that's going to be the deck to beat now.
I see why it was good, and I'm just surprised it wasn't so obvious before.
Yeah.
But these players, and it was Turbo Reshizard versus Gardevoir Sylveon, which unfortunately Gardevoir Sylveon doesn't have much of a chance against Reshizard. That's just the way it is. If Reshizard is consistently doing,
if you can get it out and do what it's supposed to, especially if you can get the Volcanion out first, and either get the Reshizard out or get a Cherish Ball, or even a Greens to get the Cherish Ball, you're set. There's so many ways to get it set up, and if you can get it set up, it's done.
Well, the Turbo list doesn't actually run Greens because Heatran has an ability.
Right. Okay.
I'm
talking about my deck.
Right. Yeah. It's not the main. I don't think it's the main setup. I don't know if there's Greens in there or not. I haven't seen the Worlds list yet.
I've seen a couple of them.
They don't rely on the Greens engine the way the Greens Reshizard does.
Yeah, I think I went ahead and was pulling some deck lists today to get put into PTCGO for my streams, and I got Tord's and I got Henry's, I believe.
Okay, was Tord? Do you know if Tord was playing green?
I'd have to look at it. Honestly, I just grabbed the list and popped them into PTCGO when I had some opportunity today, so that I could grab the few cards I still needed, so that when I do my stream, I actually have.
Yeah. So Kaya Lichleitner.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how you say it. I'm pretty sure she's from Norway.
Um,
Uh,
I think
I
so.
know.
She
I
speaks
know she
she speaks very good English because she was actually
trains
sitting.
with Ford.
She was sitting right in front of me during the juniors finals. Speaks very good English. I'll tell you that much.
um, but yeah, she took it. Gardevoir Sylveon does not really have a lot of answers for it,
No,
so it wasn't that hard. She won 2-0.
I mean I definitely have some love for Gardevoir Sylveon. I mean, ta-da! But it's not. I don't know how it got that far. I really don't know how it got that far. So how it even got to the finals, I don't know. But
You just stay immune. It's just kind of like Mew Mew. You play one card and your opponent can never touch you again.
yeah,
So I
but
can see why it did well. It's just if you don't have answers for what your opponent has, then
yeah, it kind of dark horsed the tournament.
right. No, I'm not surprised. If you prepare for it, it's not good. If you're not expecting to see it, then it is good.
Yeah. So then we had the Masters.
Masters, and we already talked about that. It
Yep.
was Mewtwo tag team versus Blacephalon GX, and I don't know if the prize penalty, if he was going to win on the turn where he got the prize penalty or not. He had top decked Welder when they told him that he couldn't, so it was like, is he going to get the fire energy out or not? It probably depended on what he drew off the Welder in
Yeah.
the game state he was in.
And we have no way of ever knowing that.
Exactly. So then, game 2, his prizes were bad in game 1. He had 2 Naganadel. The energy recovery Naganadel prized. Very unfortunate. That's bad. I think a Beast Ring and his Beast Energy were both prized in that game as well. It was really bad prizes.
Yeah.
The crowd, like, you could hear a collective gasp
Yeah. See,
when he.
now this is the first time I've actually gone and sat at a stage like that and watched. And I'll tell you, I don't understand. I want to know what is in those headsets because
They said it was white noise.
but as loud as that crowd was, I have a hard time believing they can't hear that crowd.
Well, if you watch the stream, the stream when he got done setting his prizes down, Shintaro, the Blacephalon player who had game losing prize cards, he looks out into the crowd, like you see him turn his head.
Yeah, like what?
So the casters were like, just be sure, just know that he definitely did not. They definitely cannot hear that.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know. I've never put the headset on myself. I feel like it'd be hard to play with constant white noise.
Yeah, because I mean,
But
and the thing is though, there's 3 streams going on typically throughout the day for TCG.
Right.
Stream 1 is the audio is piped into the play area. It's very loud. Plus, there's a very loud crowd. So I'd love to know what's in that headset. So if anybody here in the podcast ever has been on stage in any of the events and can drop us an email, I'd love to hear from you. Maybe we'll have you on. You can tell us about your experience.
You still there?
Oh, I'm still here. What you got for me?
Well, yeah, that's the
That's the end of
game
that.
2. Shintaro bricked. He wasn't every time he had a Blacephalon out, his opponent knocked it out immediately.
Yeah.
So he didn't get much attacks in. He's just kind of floundering. I'm sure he was off kilter because of the prize penalty. And it was just a commanding match from Henry Brand.
And we have a new 2019 Pokemon champion. So,
Yep.
outstanding. So we pretty much covered everything from that perspective. What was your final thoughts on everything that happened at Worlds, from your perspective? Not what happened with all the crap. I'm talking about how was your time?
I had a blast. I went with a great group. We all got along. Usually there's some fighting, going on between certain people.
Yeah, but I stayed in another room.
Oh yeah. I wasn't referencing you.
I know that.
But yeah, it went great. I had a great time. There was a few things it felt a little unorganized, a little bit of a miscommunication in some things.
Yeah, there was Now, like I said earlier in this podcast, we are both judges. We also belong to a lot of groups online specifically for judges.
Yeah.
And they, throughout the weekend, were putting out calls saying, we need judges, we need judges, we need volunteers. I went up to that table no less than 4 times, and every time I went up there, they were like, we don't need anybody right now. But it really seemed like every event was understaffed.
Yeah, and so here's my biggest critique. There were people who were judges wearing staff shirts that weren't judges.
Yeah. I remember you were very specific about something that happened on Saturday in regards to that.
Well, Friday I played in a pod, and I asked a ruling question just to double check my knowledge, and he told me the wrong answer, and I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that's wrong. And my opponent is like, yeah, I'm playing the deck, and that is wrong. I'm like, can I appeal this ruling to a higher judge? And he's like, well, let me go find somebody who actually is a judge, and walks away.
Yeah. Like, then why did you bother answering my question?
Are you judging my game and you're not a judge?
Yeah,
the ruling was that abilities aren't effects of Pokemon. So I was saying it was a Whimsicott deck, and I was making sure that my attack that ignores effects, I wouldn't have to flip the coin to attack Whimsicott. Yeah.
Now, that was definitely a factor. Typically, when you see a judge, they're wearing, now, thank God, we have a new uniform shirt. The black and white shirt, big judge written across the back. Typically white stripes unless they're a higher ranking judge, in which case the stripes may change. In this event, there was red shirts for staff. There was blue shirts. There were yellow shirts that apparently were the volunteers. I did see a couple judge jerseys going around. It was just so bloody much going on, and then you find out most of them were not even judges. So yeah, and they were working the floor because they were that understaffed. There was, and like just our group alone in our hotel, just in this small group of people we know, I know of 6 judges that would have been like, yeah, I'll come over. Throw me a t-shirt, man. I'm good. Throw me a t-shirt and just give me a little something. But yeah, it was pretty understaffed. I think that was the biggest problem they had, was they knew it, because everything had to be pre-registered. There was no walk-ons for anything, not even spectators. So you can't tell me you didn't know how many people were going to be there. And you just did not have enough people. And you can't tell me you didn't have enough people that wanted to do it either, because there was plenty.
Yeah, no. That's...
And speaking of rulings, there's one we completely brushed over because I forgot about it till just now.
Which one?
The Dedenne.
Oh yeah, the Dedenne.
So I think we'd be remiss if we didn't cover that before we finished up. So go ahead, let's talk about the Dedenne ruling, because that was just bizarre.
For the a high up judge in the senior, or
it was the head judge
for the juniors tournament of the actual world's competition.
Not the cup, not the DC Cup, the actual world championship.
He made a ruling that you could Dedenne, like use Dedenne, discard your hand and draw 6 under Power Plant,
which makes no sense.
Plant takes all abilities away from GX Pokemon. But apparently he was confused about a ruling away cards interacted a long time ago, where abilities weren't the stadium didn't affect the ability when the card is played. So you play it, the ability resolves, then the stadium affects the ability, is what he was thinking. But that's not how it works, because now cards cover every card in your hand, discard pile, and
it's been that way for a long time.
Exactly.
So where that came out of, I have no earthly idea.
I don't know. I think maybe somebody was not as qualified as they should have been to judge the championship.
Yeah, I work for a Fortune 500 company as a oil and vegetable technician. Reality is I work at McDonald's flipping French fries.
Yeah. So who knows what happened? Maybe it was an understandable mistake.
But it went for a couple rounds before that.
I'm pretty sure it was, yeah, people like, there were people appealing to head judges, like this girl made 2 appeals. The reason this all got out was the 2 appeals were made, and those appeals were overruled, so that those rulings had to stick.
Which,
here you are at an extreme disadvantage, because discarding your hand and drawing 6 while under power plant gets you so many more outs. Yeah. How many times have you wanted to Dedenne under power plant?
Yeah.
And you can't. You're like, oh, well, I just benched a Pokemon for no reason.
And
have fun.
I think this is going to lead into the last thing we want to mention and talk about. We have people coming from all over the bloody world for this event. I think they said there was like 51 countries or 54 countries represented in the event. These people are coming from all over the world. They're spending thousands of dollars. They may be playing the best game of their lives, but because of a stupid ruling like that, they could easily get knocked out of the tournament.
Yep.
And that's unacceptable. It really is.
How many games are how many outcomes of games changed because of that ruling? How many people didn't win because their deck didn't work because of a bad judge?
Yeah. And this didn't affect just one game. This affected everybody. And it just there's a certain point where it's like, how, and okay, let's pull the curtain back a little bit. Pokemon, they typically don't pick who the judges are.
No, I believe it's the organizer.
It's whoever the organizer is, and the organizer, he or she, goes with the people they know, or the people they're told. Do this, use this person. They're good. And that kind of the good old boy system, that leads to these problems. It's not about how good you are; it's about who you know. And I don't think that's really I think that's where these problems are coming from. We had North American Internationals. We have a judge that just made an assumption and was completely wrong. And when it was appealed, apparently they looked at the video on appeal and they still made the wrong call. So I don't understand that at all. But then we have this. This is just monumental. You're messing up games in multiple rounds for thousands of players. And that's where the outrage is coming from on that end. And I'd be fully outraged as well. But there's no way to make it right either. None whatsoever. You can't do it. It's done is done.
What would fix it?
I'm all ears.
If we played digitally instead of in real life.
But how would we make money for the Pokemon Company then?
I think that's the problem. But imagine if your deck was actually legitimately randomized every time.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a bad thing. But moving on to what I was saying about people coming from all over the world, we did get an announcement at the very end at the closing ceremonies after the VGC, and that is the location for the 2020 World Championship. And we had this big build up, and on screen we see London.
Yep.
For the first time, as far as I can remember, and far as I know,
I think it's the first time in history.
The Pokemon World Championship will take place out of North America. I say North America because it's always happened in the United States, except for one time I believe it happened in Toronto, if I'm correct.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
So we say North America. So this is the first time we're going anywhere outside of North America. So we're going to Europe. We're going to London, of all places, for the World Championship. Now, there is so many people online, especially in like the parents groups, that are spitting vitriol about this. And it's making me, I'm not sure if it's making me laugh or it's making me angry, because we got people saying, "Oh, this is horrible. How can I afford to take my kids to London? No, they work so hard."
Who aren't from America?
What about all the people that have been coming over here for all these years? I mean, come on, throw them a bone once in a while.
Yeah, if you don't think you can afford it, don't go.
Yeah. And quite frankly, I would love to go next year, but am I going to go to London? Probably not. Not unless I make top 32 and get a stipend.
I really wanted to compete, but I doubt it.
I doubt it. I mean, unless I really like my chances. Now, that means you're probably going to have a big rush, and you're probably going to want to register really early for North American Internationals. But yeah, it's going to be in London next year. But yeah, there's people just going crazy, complaining that, oh, how am I going to get there? Like, well, what about all these people? You know, the one pod I told you I was sitting in. I want to say the kid was German. I'm not positive, but I'm sitting there playing against one kid that's German, one kid that's Japanese, and it was actually really cool. It was really cool to have that experience. But they just spent, 20 hours on a plane or 15 hours on a plane to come here and play this. And you have this situation where you're complaining that for the first time you actually have to leave the U.S. Don't want to hear it, dude. Don't want to hear it at all. You're completely wrong. Yeah. Get off your entitled nonsense and stop and think for a minute.
Yeah, no, I would rather it be in America.
Oh, me too, absolutely. But I understand it.
Mad, yeah.
I understand it. I don't have to like it, but I can understand it. But oh my lord, I can't stand it when people. I'm at one point I'm like, really, and I start laughing. Then I notice there's like more and more and more and more. I'm like, you entitled jerks.
Yeah.
Yes, it's okay to be upset, but don't actually like get mad and start like, how dare they? I mean, yeah, I'm upset too that I can't go next year. Now, I say I can't go. Maybe I'll get a wild hair at my butt and I'll just say I'm going to London. Damn it.
I mean, yeah. Well, it still remains to see. If I make the points, maybe I'll. Maybe I'll go.
We'll split a hotel.
Yeah.
All right, Duck. So, do you have anything else you want to go over? Because I think we should save VGC for next week because we are so far into this, and
there's a lot of VG stuff to go over. By the time the whole week passes, I'm sure we'll have more to add to that to get a whole episode out of it anyway.
Yeah. So I think we're going to leave it at that. If you are watching us live on Twitch, please stay with us because after the outro, we're going to come back and we're going to have a post-show Q&A. I want to give a special shout-out to the artists that give us our intro and our outro music. First, Nate Wants to Battle for our outro, and our intro is done by Retrospector. Thank you very much for that. Duck, you are streaming live on Twitch certain nights. I think your schedule is a little in flux right now, but if you just get on Twitch and look for Blue Duck, Gold Duck, all one word without the E, you can find Duck streaming retro Pokemon games, usually doing Nuzlocke challenges. You can find myself, _Raspberry01, doing Pokemon trading card game online. I'll be playing a lot more decks now that I've actually get some lists from Worlds. I'm going to
start streaming TCGO as well.
Okay, so
he's rotation hit.
So he's competition, folks. So don't go to see him. Go see me. Stay here on this channel. We've also got on my channel we'll be doing a lot more stuff with Let's Go, getting geared up for Sword and Shield. So looking forward to that. And Duck, do you have anything else you want to plug for us?
That's about it. So until next time, remember, if it's too good to be blue, it's probably gold.
All right, folks, have a good night.
Just because your card is magic, you think you're safe because you killed my life orb. Baby, do you dare to not flinch? Cause I'm coming at you like a dark pulse. I know you're gonna throw. You're gonna throw a star. But I got that lucky chance. There's no critical